this project is looking at two different types of tunnel coverings and which ones are more efficient for the production of a variety of vegetables here in North Carolina. My name is Peter Coffey, and I am an entomologist and horticultural scientist at the CEFS Research Farm and at the North Carolina A&T University Research Farm in Greensboro. The tunnels here are covered in plastic, but tunnel plastics can be different types, and these are covered in a single layer and a double layer of plastic. And we're basically comparing the two different setups to see which one does better and is more economical for a variety of horticultural crops. Basically, with the double layer tunnel, we get an added insulative layer of air between the two layers. So we get more air trapped in there, which traps more heat in the tunnel. So we get a little bit more of a temperature buffer on cold nights. But the disadvantage of the double layer tunnel is that extra layer of plastic actually is blocking more sunlight, which plants need to grow. Also, there is the added cost of a second layer of plastic, which a farmer would have to work into their budget. And also, a double layer tunnel has to be inflated at all times, so it has a constantly running tiny fan that keeps the layers inflated. So there is an additional electronic cost. And if you're set up with a tunnel that is not electric for the curtains, getting electricity run to your tunnel is a whole nother additional major cost. So basically we're asking, is it financially worth it to add in these kind of little additional costs to a tunnel to get that added insulative layer? And we are seeing in our preliminary work some differences between the two types of coverings. So there are a variety of differences and reasons why you'd use a high tunnel on a small farm. A high tunnel is a great way to increase basically your production on a very small level. So you can grow a lot of the vegetables that we're growing here outside of a high tunnel in North Carolina, but inside of a high tunnel you're getting season extension, so you can put plants in the ground earlier because they're protected from late frosts, which means that you can be earlier to market. And on a small scale, especially being first to market with something like a tomato, being the first person at a farmer's market with those ripe tomatoes is really valuable. So it's not necessarily about producing more, it's about producing earlier than your competitor. In addition, you can also produce more because you're getting higher intensity, and you're also protecting plants from the rain. So we all think of plants, and especially crops, needing rain, and they do, but plants only want water on their roots. Water on their leaves can actually be a problem for a lot of crops because it brings disease spores and bacteria out of the air, and they land on the leaves, or they splash on the ground and splash diseases up onto the plant leaves. So protecting the leaves of the plant from rain can actually inhibit disease growth quite a lot for a lot of varieties. So because we're trying to focus very much just on the high tunnels themselves and on the plastic covering themselves, we need to make sure that everything else is as matched up as it possibly can be. So if we have pests in one tunnel and not in the other tunnel, that's an important piece of information, but it's also something that we have to take care of. We have to make sure that we don't have any pests compounding the issues. We don't want production to drop off in one tunnel and mistakenly think it's because of the covering when actually it's because there's an aphid outbreak. Any kind of protected production is going to basically give you more control. So anytime you're taking control away from nature, it's an added responsibility on yourself to manage the crops properly. You can put a crop outside and it's kind of out of your hands, but in a high tunnel you're controlling a lot more aspects of it. So because we're not getting rain for our crops, we are having to irrigate. All of our crop water is supplied by irrigation, which means we have that control. So with climate change, we're seeing predictions of longer periods between rains and then more intense rains all at once. We don't need to worry about that as far as water needs of the plants, because we're doing a protected system. So I think that high tunnels are a really important tool, and like a lot of tools, they are best when used in the right situation. So there are a lot of farms that can benefit from having a high tunnel, but it's definitely not a one-stop fix or a magic bullet to making a farm profitable. So I like to think of high tunnels or any kind of protected agriculture as kind of farming on expert mode. So you've just turned up all of your factors a little bit. So yes, you're going to get higher production. Yes, you're going to have more control of your crops. But the warm, temperatures that increase crop production are also going to increase pest numbers and disease growth once you get disease, established. So it's definitely a powerful tool, but it's very easy to cut yourself with it if you're not careful.